The main deck graveyard hate continues until morale improves. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Tyler has asked us to play a Ketramose Helm deck. So we got a couple different things going on here. Number one, we have both Leyline of the Void and Dauthi Voidwalker in this deck. And these are going to create a combo with Helm of Obedience, where when we activate this card, no cards actually go to our opponent's graveyard, so this just mills them out, sending all of their cards to exile. And in the current metagame with Reanimator and Oops absolutely everywhere in leagues, having main deck graveyard hate seems like a reasonable thing to do. And the other thing sending a bunch of cards to exile is going to do is turn on Ketramose. Ketramose is a 4/4 Menace lifelink indestructible that can't attack until there are 7 or more cards in exile, and that is counting both your exile and your opponent's exile, so that's a total. Now, most importantly, whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from graveyards and or the battlefield during your turn, you draw a card and lose a life. So once you have a Leyline in play, or a Dauthi Voidwalker in play, anything you do that takes out an opponent's card, well, you're going to draw a card from it. And some of your cards, like Swords to Plowshares and Solitude, are going to innately just take out cards anyway. Tyler had originally built this as a deck that had both Urza Saga and 4X Wasteland in there, and I don't think you get to be a deck that wants to have a 5-mana play while playing 2 different disappearing lands. I don't know if you actually want any Ancient Tombs in this deck, as you do have black cards that you want to be playing, but it's maybe worth considering. The life loss is very real with Ketramoses and Thoughtseizes going on, though. Tyler's original deck list had Bowmasters in the main, which I think is totally reasonable. I'm going to try Overlord of the Balemurk instead. I think flickering that with Phelia is more powerful than flickering Bowmasters with Phelia, even though the metagame is definitely blue heavy. Phelia also, very obviously has some cool synergies with Ketramose as well. So Tyler's goal with this deck is to kind of take a called shot at the metagame by playing main deck graveyard hate, but also just not submit an embarrassing deck list. So we'll kind of see how this plays out. We have 22 lands, counting Witch Enchanter as a full land, and we've got Chrome Mox on top of that. So we have a little early game card disadvantage with some stuff like Chrome Mox and Solitude, but hopefully Ketramose and Overlord can just kind of overwhelm our opponent when we get to the end game. And occasionally we might have some really cool lines that steal games, like our opponent casts a Show and Tell, we get to put in a Helm, and we already have another combo piece in play, and just boop, they're done. So with that, let's go ahead and hop into some matches here. Folks, if you need any cards, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. You always get free shipping, and they're just super reliable. If you're tired of getting all of your cards from 15 different envelopes over the course of 3 weeks, check them out. They've got some really cool high-end stuff too, from dual lands to individually scanned cards of the really, really sweet stuff. All right, let's battle. All right, I have a hand that I think was borderline a mulligan that I am going to keep. I need 1 more land, preferably a black land, for this hand to be good. I think this is acceptable, but on the lower end of acceptable for sure. Shaman Encore. So this is a slightly different Nadu combo list. So this is just another enabler. This one costs 2 and can get around things like Chalice of the Void. I think I just take the Nadu. If my opponent also has the Cephalid Illusionist combo in their deck, which my guess is that they don't, I'm not actually scared of that because of the Leyline of the Void that I happen to start the game with. Mox. 2 cards in exile, but that number will ramp up pretty quickly. I think I'm in. So I think I'm going to go Chrome Mox, Imprint, Dauthi, do that, cast Ketramose, and then next turn I've got something that guaranteed works with Ketramose. Notably, the Ketramose thing is during my turn. Alright, so they've got their Shaman. Overlord. I will just start with Thoughtseize, though. That's fine. We'll take the green sun. That represents a Nadu. And now I will impending this card. Say yes, I miss. So 4 cards in exile. The Nomads are fine. The Nomads and the Shamans and whatnot don't super matter here. Oh, my opponent did not... I can't block. So that was fully just miss damage. But this Chrome Mox is not doing me any good. We'll just let Overlord tick down. Ooh, they fetched during my turn. So I get 2 Ketramose. I think that's an easy to miss interaction. Now the scary part here is that my opponent kept a card on top, and basically the only card they want is Nadu or something that finds Nadu. Once Upon a Time can dig 5 deep for that. Alright, they are getting a Springheart Nantucko. And they have Quirion Ranger plus that to guarantee landfall. Okay, they are going on the Hierarch. Wonder if that's better than putting it on Quirion Ranger and just getting multiple ways to... No, I guess you can't replay the forest multiple times. Okay. If my opponent junks that card, I get my 7th card for Ketramose, Craterhoof Behemoth. So there we go. I do have 7, so this now does get to attack. I will go ahead and send in for my 4. Opponent goes to 13, and now we'll start trying to pop off. I need 2 removal spells to effectively get rid of this. This guarantees the land drop. Might actually go here first. Let's swords that. Alright, Ketramose trigger is another swords. I don't have white mana, which is unfortunate. Thoughtseize is going to exile from my hand. I do not believe that is triggering Chrome Mox, but I also don't need it. I will go ahead and imprint now. Pick down Overlord. Make it look like I have something like an opposition agent. Opponent doesn't care. Sends in anyway. That's fine. Now my opponent does the landfall thing. Makes a new Hierarch. Helm. I am on 4 mana. I need 1 more mana for that to really do its thing. Go ahead and swords. My opponent might fetch in response. They did not. There's my next land. So my opponent has 1, 2, 3, 4. Send it. 11. And then next turn I resolve Helm. My opponent did this again in the way that gives me an extra Ketramose trigger. And then I will tick down the Overlord. Bird is not what my opponent is looking for. They are Hellbent. They don't have lethal this turn. That brings me to 6. I'll Shadowy Backstreet. I'll junk Solitude. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's Helm. And my opponent concedes before we get to look at their deck, which is wise. Alright, so it looks like my opponent is probably Bant Nadu. We saw Craterhoof, which indicates that they also might have Natural Order, or maybe the ability to hardcast it via something like Gaia's Cradle. Wrath of the Skies is probably good here. Orcish Bowmasters as removal is probably good here. Solitude is playable. And we can decide how graveyard-oriented we want to be. If I think that I can just grind my opponent out in a fair capacity, we just remove Leyline Helm. Overlord and Ketramose are slow but strong. I think I'm going to try playing fair on the game where I'm on the draw. Alright, we are both starting on 7s. I have 2 different early removal spells here, and Overlord getting back Solitude is definitely a thing. Opponent fetches and plays a bird. I might just Solitude that, despite the fact that I have Orcish Bowmasters, because I want to slow my opponent down kind of no matter what here. I don't want a Nadu to get in play quickly before I start getting my bullshit engine going. Land drop 2. There's another bird. That one will eat a Bowmaster. We'll get a Surveil land at end of turn. It's okay. I think I will go ahead and take that. And we're just taking out the little guys. I have a generically good removal spell for if something like Nadu comes down. I can do that along with Overlord next turn. And if I can get a Ketramose down before I do other stuff, cool. And if I can't, there's timelines where it just pitches to a Solitude. That's fine. All right, there's Cradle. That was something we predicted would be in the deck. All right, I suspect that I am just going to Swords this. I will do it this turn, I think. Let's just take a look-see with this real quick. I think this just gets back Solitude, despite the fact that Phelia is pretty cool. So let's Swords. Opponent has 2 mana right now if they want to cast something like a Once Upon a Time. I think I'm going to send in for 2, and I think I am not going to Solitude the Insect token. If I don't have to Solitude, that is preferable, because if I can Solitude after I have done Ketramose, I get to draw a card. There's a Green Sun for 1. Opponent has some removal. Or sorry, some protection, rather. I am okay throwing down a Ketramose, going to combat, sending in for 2, going to 15, pitch casting a Solitude, and this is just a pitch cast land destruction spell. I think I am okay with, because I have Overlord coming, and more other Overlord coming. That I don't like, though. Ooh, and there gets to be a follow-up play. Oh no. So my opponent is doing a Court of Calling. So they can now kind of do the whole Nadu thing. And I don't think I really want to sit through this. My opponent has this many times 2 activations on their turn, this many times 2 activations on my turn as well. Yeah, I think at the point where they hit Swords to Plowshares and I lose Ketramose as my potential engine piece, I am willing to just say that they've got it. Do I still believe that I win the game in a fair capacity? Or do I think I need Leyline Helm? Like, the Bowmasters were good, the Solitudes were good, Wrath of the Skies would have been good. I think I'm going to run it back like this. The Oops, I Win button definitely is still appreciated, though. I don't think I'm into the single land hand here. Tapped land, black for Dauthi or Bowmasters into more other Dauthi. I think this is fine. With no other white card here and no source of card advantage, I think I will just pitch Solitude. This is pretty close to just a full-on aggro hand, though. Send that to Graveyard. Opponent has Once Upon a Time on their turn. Finding a Windswept Heath, and then presumably some Mana Dork is coming, which I will kill with Bowmasters. Yep, that's fine. I don't really want extra mana here, but I don't have Ponders and Brainstorms and such to select my draws, so this is what we're working with. Opponent has a Nomads and a land drop. Witch Enchanter is not really what I'm looking for here. Guess I'll go ahead and attack first. Opponent goes to 17. I'm always playing Dauthi Voidwalker, and then I decide whether or not I ever think I need Witch Enchanter as a white card for a Solitude that I rip off the top. Surveil land? Opponent keeps their card. I think I will keep this as a white card for if I draw Solitude. Another Nomads is fine. We're just trying to avoid Nadu and the things that get to Nadu. It's Nadu. So we're in the same spot as before, where my opponent gets 6 activations as of right now, plus another 6 activations on their own turn. And I'm not going to sit through that. I'm going to assume that this ends up killing me, and our opponent has got it. GG. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. My opponent is on a 6-card hand. I have a pretty reasonable hand that can go one of 2 ways. We can either just play double Dauthi Voidwalker if I think graveyards are relevant, or I can go Overlord and Phelia in some order. It is lands. My opponent has Thespian Stage plus Dark Depths if I let them keep crop rotation. I think I will be taking that. Now, Once Upon a Time very well might end up just finding the other half of the combo. Let's find out. This is now their main phase, so they've drawn their card. It is Vampire Hexmage. There's Stage. There's Lotus Petal played out. There's another Thoughtseize. I think my plan is play Phelia at their end of turn, play Overlord looking for Solitude, and then blink Overlord to look for Solitude again if I don't find it the first time. Alright, so there is an Elvish Spirit Guide here. So this is live. I would like to draw a land. I get to do something really cute if I draw a land. Close enough. So now I can Thoughtseize and attempt to take this Elvish Spirit Guide so my opponent can't make it this turn. Because if they make it now, I Phelia and attack, and they lose it. So I will take that. So this gives me a little bit of breathing room. Not much, but a little bit. So I'll imprint Dauthi to Impending Overlord. Say yes. We'll take Ketramose. Ketramose is at least white for who's he, what's it? Solitude. So blink this. Take 2. This comes back. Trigger. Yes. Did we hit? No. There's Dauthi. I am still going to have, and that's a new land, by the way, so we know my opponent's exact contents of hand. So, am I casting Ketramose? So, I think I would rather have Ketramose as a white card in hand for hitting a Solitude. So, let's send it. Phelia trigger targets my Overlord. So here's the Overlord. Okay, say yes, there's Solitude. That is fantastic. Phelia now blinks this Overlord, and my opponent now knows that I have Solitude. And my opponent concedes there. Alright. Just Orzhov mid-rangey stuff doing its thing. So I always want Solitude. I think I always want Disruptor Flute. And a lot of the rest of this stuff is pretty mid. So I need to cut 4 cards. I don't know. So I guess it's never these, or these, or these, or these. Is it Dauthi? Keep Leyline. Leyline is nice if I have it in the opener for Ketramose reasons. But is Helm good enough without both Leyline and Dauthi? Or I can keep my combo finish and not do Ketramose, but Ketramose is kind of important as a white card to pitch to Solitude. It'd be a half measure of like 2 Helms and 2 Dauthis. Feels weird. I need to think about this more. I am going to get rid of the Helms and keep the Leylines for enabling Ketramose. I don't really know if that's correct. This has looks at a Solitude. This is a medium hand. I could just mulligan this one. Like, I do have a fair amount of early interaction in Swords and Thoughtseize available. I don't really want to mulligan to Disruption versus a discard deck, though. I might just keep a hand that has lands and spells here. There is a Stage. Phelia is totally fine and good. Solitude is exactly what I want. So this is going to play out similarly to last time, where I probably play Phelia as my turn 2 play. The most important card in my entire hand is on top of my deck, which is good. I think Phelia is my best card here. I could see arguments for Overlord, though. Opponent does take Overlord, and Sylvan Scrying's off an Elvish Spirit Guide, getting a Dark Depths. I think I am going to go ahead and still play the Phelia immediately. Alright, there is the Dark Depths. Here is a Phelia. Ooh. Pretty sure I just sit on that. I did my turn wrong. Could have played Dauthi pre-combat for a +1/+1 counter on Phelia. Oops. Now opponent needs to deal with our Wasteland, and this Phelia is kind of annoying too. Opponent's just got another land drop, and we're chilling. Leyline of the Void, not great right now, but it could be Helm, in which case I'm still a mana off of activating that. Play Levy, get a Scrub, play a Ketramose, go to Punchies, Send it. We can blink the Ketramose. That does trigger Ketramose. Getting an Overlord. Opponent's at 11. All past the turn here. Opponent's doing something. Grabbing Bayou. There's doing it while Ketramose is not in play. That's reasonable. Another Thespian stage. 2 total cards in exile. Go ahead and impending this. Note that if this was Helm, I do win this turn. Yes. It will get a new Dauthi Voidwalker. Anything cool there? Nothing cool there. I will go ahead and fetch. Grab a new Scrubland. Play a new Dauthi. Go to Punchies. This is 6. I will blink this Overlord. Ketramose trigger. There's a Thoughtseize. The opponent needs to make moves now. So there's Overlord trigger. I will say yes. I will pick up a Ketramose. That's another thing that I can potentially pitch to Solitude. There is a crop rotation. That's going to get me a Ketramose trigger. So I suspect I know where this is going. This is going to get a Wasteland. So my opponent can Wasteland my Wasteland. I think is fine. Or Ghost Quarter, same effect. So I get a Ketramose draw. This is targeting my Wasteland. Now I'll respond by Wastelanding something. My opponent will respond by doing the Dark Depths thing. I think since I suspect Dark Depths and one of these Thespian stages is about to leave play anyway, I'm just going to target the Bayou. Because I very much just have lethal damage on board, as long as I stop the Merit Lage. Alright, so there is my opponent's 2020. We got some Ketramose triggers, as 2 more lands are going to graveyard, and then exile. So now this Bayou thing is going to happen. 1 more. We've got Solitude for days. Ketramose, Solitude, target Merit Lage, and my opponent is willing to concede there. I didn't realize exactly how many cards I was going to be drawing there. The interaction with Dark Stage and Thespian Stage, both leaving play, drawing me 2 with Ketramose, means that even if I did not have the Solitude in hand at the time or was missing a white card, I actually got a decent number of looks to get myself out. I think my opponent played well, but like my deck with recursive Solitudes and the ability to dig for them at instant speed in response to the combo is uniquely well suited to winning this matchup. GG's. In Leyline of the Void we trust. Opening hand has Phelia into Ketramose, has a Wasteland to kick things off. It's not overly exciting in any capacity, but it is probably solid. Opponent is on a blue-black deck, so they almost certainly use their graveyard in some capacity, be that for Goyfs or Murktides or reanimation stuff. Opponent says, big fan of what I'm seeing here. Sorry, I'm playing a stupid deck. To be fair, I am also playing a stupid deck, just in a different way. Alright, so I have lost my Phelia. Ooh, nice. Obviously less good without Phelia, but, you know. Opponent has Undercity Sewers. There are already 4 cards. There's the confirmation that my opponent is on Reanimate. I don't think I Chrome Mox anything here. I don't think I need to Thoughtseize. So now opponent has to try to select their way out of this. The easiest way for me to win is my opponent to counter a Ketramose or Overlord and then take over the game by reanimating it. So despite the fact that I have shut off reanimation stuff on my opponent's side, it is still the best thing in the matchup, which is kind of cruel. I think I'm going to go end of my opponent's turn Phelia, and that can like be Daze Bait to actually resolve one of these 2 cards. Opponent surveils again. There are now 7 cards in exile, including the Atraxa. Alright, opponent's got Wasteland, which I'll respond to. I think I just do Scrub. Play that dog. Alright, there is a baited Daze. That is fantastic. So now we will fetch yet another Scrub and do Overlord. That is Force of Will pitching Brazen Borrower. So now opponent's reanimates are live on my own Overlord. Alright, they used Brainstorm to potentially shuffle them back. That's not bad. It's not good immediately, but you know. I got forced, not dazed, previously. I think I'm just going for Ketramose. It is live, it is menace, it will draw me cards later. I think that's what I'm doing. Imprint and Ketramose. Alright, it's stuck. Very nice. No end of turn play from my opponent, so they did not use their mana. Land drop is probably not what they're looking for there. Underground Sea. More Underground Sea. What is this? Oh, Hardcast Kaito. Sure. Stunning my creature. You've got it. My ability's still online. Fetch. Scrub. I think I am fine telegraphing this. Like, my opponent's got multiple problems here, and their last card has to be Daze. It's not. Kaito is going to hit me. 14. Now, opponent needs to surveil into something that answers Helm or Leyline. They did not. Alright. Game 1, Graveyard Hate Justice. Now, I am probably into these 6 cards. I think I'm getting rid of Thoughtseize and largely playing to the board. I, in theory, need 2 more cuts here. All the cards seem pretty reasonable, honestly. It might be something like 2 Overlords and just decrease the number of reanimation hits my opponent has on my side. Or like, this like not only goes to play, but it also like mills stuff. Or it could be like 1 and 1, which also feels perfectly reasonable. Well, we have removal, but we don't have anything else. My opponent begins with 7. I'm totally willing to keep this hand. I think I'm gonna get rid of the Overlord. Just keep an abundance of mana here. Scalding Tarn and pass. I will Flooded Strand and pass. I'm getting a Surveil land with my mana as of right now, which is what opponent might be doing here. They like their card. Second land drop and Thoughtseize. Opponent gets to see what I'm doing over here. Opponent takes my Ketramose. I will get my own Surveil land now. Mana goes to graveyard here for sure. Oh, I am so into that. Get him. Nice. My opponent's other land is Basic Swamp. Basic Swamp does not cast Ponder. Well, Basic Island does. We tried. I will now drop a Dauthi Voidwalker. You know, could be dazed or whatever, but I want this to come down as soon as possible so that more cards end up in exile. Not so much this time, though. Opponent has a wasteland of their own. That is not a big deal, though. I will play a Scrubland with the intention of playing Phelia on my opponent's end step or main phase. Yeah, Daze is fine. Let's cast that card now, or not literally never, but like it would be dazable again next turn anyway. Well, I am continuing to hit mana sources, which is fine. I'm not presenting a threat here, but neither is my opponent. I think the draw go game favors me. Shadowy Backstreet. I absolutely don't want Chrome Mox. I'm looking for like Ketramose, Overlord, that sort of stuff right now. I'll pass here. Even Bowmasters is pretty darn good for stuff like that. Oh, that is funny other name, Brainstorm. Every time I see that card, I get excited because I think something new has happened, and something new has not happened. I'm gonna lose Swords here. I'm wrong. I'm losing Solitude. I'm out of Shadowy Backstreets now. I will... Scrubland's fine. I'll just thin a land from the deck. Oh, we found Solitude again. We did it. Do you have a Surveil land left? You do. Opponent likes their card. They could have something like Kaito if they want to get rid of my body. Alright, they've got Tamiyo. Sure. One of those last 2 cards, Brainstorm? I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna cast Swords in my opponent's upkeep. Now my opponent knows that I have this, so they could just be sacrificing. Okay, it is a Force of Will situation. Sure. So hopefully I just draw a land for this Solitude, remove the Tamiyo, and it is a non-issue. It's a major pain in the butt once it turns into the Planeswalker. Alright. We'll imprint Leyline. I'll cast Solitude on my opponent's turn, and hope it works. Opponent has 2 cards. Daze is online. Yep. So now this Tamiyo is going to single-handedly run away with the game, unfortunately. So we were in a deadlock for 10 turns, and then my opponent stuck a 1-drop that spiraled the game out of control. That helps a lot. Honestly, that does help a lot. It does not get to kill the Tamiyo here. God damn you, Tamiyo, you piece of shit. Yup. So now my opponent gets another clue, and all swords in my opponent's upkeep, or in response to a clue activation going on the stack. Alright. So, trying to answer the 1-drop for the 3rd time. Alright, we did it. Let's not think about how many cards we are down to a 1-drop, though. Excellent. 16. There's Ponder. Wasteland technically does stuff. It keeps me from hard casting a Solitude that I draw. Yep. 14. I'm going to keep this as a land. My opponent now gets to hit me for 7. And notably, my opponent has probably boarded out most or all of their like reanimate type stuff. They might keep a little bit of it in, but it doesn't matter. Like, it is turn 13. They have done nothing with their reanimator stuff, and they still are winning. Don't daze me. I don't get to play this with impending here. Alright, it resolves. Oh, am I just losing it now? Can sign the trigger. Sure. I believe that Bowmaster means that I am dead. Not immediately. I take 4 and am forced to chump block. Yep, feels bad. I'm at 2. I need Solitude, basically. My opponent has Murktide Region as well. Yup. Well, if this game had gone slightly differently, that would have been cool. If I randomly hit a Goyf, I guess I could randomly hit Atraxa. I don't think that's in the deck anymore, though. Activate. I hit my opponent's own Dauthi Voidwalker. I'm dead. 14-turn game was never close. Do I go down on Helms? Maybe I go down on Helms because, like, the Leylines are just a perfectly respectable card in their own right, and the Helms aren't. Okay, this is a land. I Chrome Mox, I imprint a black card. This is fine. So I'm gonna Leyline. I will Chrome Mox. I'm gonna imprint an Overlord. Do this, and cast this with impending. This is such an incredibly awkward card, in that it can put creatures into my graveyard for my opponent to reanimate after I shut off their reanimates with Leyline. Very Macabre is a much better hate card versus Blue-Black Reanimator, but Leyline of the Void is necessary versus Oops All Spells. So I believe I sideboarded out 2 Helms, right? Okay, so those just aren't a part of my deck anymore. Marsh Flats means that I can play Dauthi, which is fine by me. If I pass the turn with, you know, Bowmaster mana available, it's kind of obvious what is going on. Opponent has a Swamp, and a Fatal Push, and Thoughtseize. I have lost Bowboy. I will be passing the turn with my Overlord ticking down, and opponent has some selection. I am very afraid of discard spell into stick a Goyf. But opponent shuffled there, so at least we've got that going for us. We will find a Surveil land. Yeah. Again, absolutely horrified all the time of my opponent countering or otherwise getting something scary into my graveyard and then reanimating it. There is a Tamiyo without blue mana backing it up. I'm going to remove this on my turn so that I draw a card. It does turn on Force of Negation, though, admittedly. But I still think I am doing it this way. The card is very valuable. Alright, so this is 5 cards in exile. This will just be another Marsh Flats. Overlord is a dude. I guess I'll put this in my graveyard and do the Shadowy Backstreet thing, so there's not a void counter on whatever I junk. That's a below average draw. Phelia is cool. Ketramose does not get to attack yet. Overlord trigger. Yes. Just Bowmaster? I think just Bowmaster. Alright, opponent takes 5. I will play a land drop. Now I'm at enough stuff in exile so that Ketramose is live. Wait, I wasn't at that at the beginning of turn, was I? Oh, fuck. So These just went to... Ooh. Yeah, I didn't notice those going to exile. Whoops, I had a better way to play this. It's probably fine. But I could have, like, gotten my own Dauthi to threaten activating my own Dauthi, for example. Alright, so now I will play a Phelia. And I think I am fine casting this here to use my mana. Send that at face. Opponent's at 12. I think we just send it. Like, the Solitude can do some good work. I think Phelia is just going to link Bowmasters. I will pick up my own Dauthi Voidwalker now. Ketramose trigger. A new Phelia, which is fine because I might be losing this one to Solitude in one capacity or another. Alright, so Dauthi trigger, and my opponent can cast the Solitude, presumably. Okay, so there is the Solitude. Exiling my Overlord. Ketramose trigger. I draw a new card. It is a new Solitude. Am I fine with just doing this so I don't lose my own active Phelia? Sure. Solitude pitch Phelia. That's good enough for a Brainstorm in response, and my Bowmaster is currently phased out, so to speak, coming back from the Phelia trigger a little bit later. Alright, it is working, so I will take out that Solitude. So this is going to draw me another card. A new Bowmaster is great. Now damage can go through. Opponent is at 8. 3, 6. So I will do a new Overlord. Get that Solitude out of my graveyard. Opponent says GG, too much value. Ugh. Alright, it was a bit of an uphill battle, but we did beat Blue-Black Reanimator, the best deck in the format. So, mission accomplished, we beat the deck we set out to beat, but it was not easy. GG's. Alright, my opponent is on a Yorion deck of some kind. I think I'm going to keep this hand. I have Leyline plus Helm already, plus some mid-rangey bullshit to do along the way. This is fine. My opponent's on 6, and I am on the draw. Misty Rainforest, so blue Yorion value pile in all likelihood. There is a limit to how many Ketramose I want to draw, even if we do start with the Leyline in play. Straight up untapped Savannah. It is up the beanstalk, so my opponent is going to get their own value nonsense going before I get my value nonsense going. I am going to surveil. I need more land here. I don't really want to get wastelanded. I'm going to get rid of that Dauthi. I don't think the game is about using that as a spell. I think the game is about exhausting my opponent's resources by playing Ketramose 3 turns in a row till one of them sticks, and then winning with the Helm of Obedience. If my opponent misses a land drop, I don't remember this. It's the Speed Edict, right? Sack a creature, sack this enchantment, you gain life equal to your speed. Okay, got it. Ketramose attempt number 1. Sticks, but that doesn't really mean anything. Ooh, are you going to exile it on my turn? That's delicious. I get a card. Very nice. Tropical Island. Alright. Alright, deck. I see what's going on here. They're not really all that bad, honestly. That is a Phelia. Phelia up the beanstalk, absolutely a thing. I can attempt to swords my opponent's Phelia. Phelia momentum breaker, also very real. They are going for the up the beanstalk here. Playing a Leyline Binding in response, sure. Taking out Ketramose. I'll take 2. I would like to draw land. To be able to go Ketramose into swords immediately. Then the up the beanstalk comes back. I don't draw the land. I can't double spell very well. I think I just, despite the fact that this is not like ideal in terms of value or mana usage or anything, I think I just take out the Phelia. It'll suck if there's just another one immediately, but it is a Xander's Lounge instead. Another land drop, probably Yorion to hand. Oh god. So when this permanent enters or attacked, make the everywhere land. Okay, got it. I can swords that eventually. And this is just a land token that taps for every color. And it is Estrid's Invocation on presumably up the beanstalk. Nope, on the Overlord. You've got it. That means that I just get to Swords to Plowshare my opponent's Estrid's Invocation, though, which I am, like, super on board with. My draws are butt, though. Alright. Swords Estrid's Invocation. That feels like a pretty big misplay, but I don't think it matters because my opponent just gets to play Yorion at some point. A new Abundant Growth is fine. Another land. These lands are jumping around like crazy. Zur Eternal Schemer. My opponent can start turning their enchantments into enchantment creatures. That's Yorion to hand. They're just going to animate this into a creature temporarily to gain a bunch of life, which I am fine with. Be a great turn to draw a Thoughtseize to take that Yorion. Be a great turn to draw a Solitude to be able to Ketramose Solitude. From Mox. That's not really what I was looking for. I think I don't get to play out a Helm this turn. I don't know, maybe I get the Ketramose back if I do. It's very awkward if my opponent specifically takes Leyline of the Void, because I have another Helm that I can just do. I'm going to go ahead and play this out. I did not do math for if I just die to Zur activations immediately. It's possible that I do. Force a Negation, plus blue card. Yikes. Yeah, I think I die to triple Zur activation. So once all of those activations are done, my opponent sends a large amount of power at me. And I'm going to blame that loss fully on my deck. Drawing all 4 Ketramoses was really rough. Drawing 2 Helms on top of that. Not the best either. Alright, Orcish Bowmaster seems good. Wrath of the Skies might be playable. Solitude might be playable. Disruptor Fluid on Yorion is not crazy. Wrath of the Skies might take out too much of my stuff while I try to clear things. I think I need Solitudes. I think I am getting rid of Thoughtseize. There's some windows where Thoughtseize on Yorion is really, really good. But outside of those specific windows, I think presenting my own threats and playing to the board matters a lot. And maybe if I am adding Solitude to go with Overlord, I can go down on swords. Like, I want removal spells when we get to the end game. I maybe don't need them super early on. My opponent's deck might dirtle harder than my deck. We might be in trouble. This is pretty dirtily. I'll keep this. Phelia into Overlord Recursion. Seems good. We will Surveil land in the first turn cycle. And opponent has a Xander's Lounge. I'll be lazy and go ahead and do this now. I'll absolutely just take another one of those. I'll play Scrubland and pass, and we have both Bowmasters and Phelia available. I would prefer to cast Phelia immediately. But, you know, if a Brainstorm goes on the stack, I'll do what I gotta do. Phelia? Alright, we have at least moved to my turn. So I will attempt to do the thing, which I imagine is going to get a white removal spell response. And I am correct. But the Overlord resolves. Finds me a Witch Enchanter. Like, that technically has text in this matchup, so, you know, I'll take it. I could have Surveil land with that trigger on the stack. Third land drop. Overlord of the Flood Pits. So that's a loot. Guarding the green Overlord. These aren't creatures right now, so I can't, like, just proactively Swords to Plowshares that. I will do the other shadowy backstreet. I mean, yeah. I think Witch Enchanter is just a land, despite having text in this matchup, though. I think I am going to go ahead and just use that to Overlord. Hit a Bowmasters. It's kind of awkward to telegraph, but so be it. And I'm just gonna... I guess I don't want to always yield to that, because occasionally I might want to respond to my own trigger. Not from this, but from the other ability. Flooded Strand. Alright, so that's going to resolve, and then I will Bowmaster with the trigger on the stack. My opponent knows that I have this Bowmaster, so, like, this isn't going to work in some capacity. Like, it's going to be a Swords or a Leyline Binding or whatever. But, like, I am fine offering up this Bowmasters to that, and then I will just have another one in a minute. And a Tundra gets discarded. And these tick down. Well, I mean, like, we're going to keep doing this. Get a Solitude. I think I'm just going to cast this now and get in for the extra point of damage. So ping, and then an attack for 2. Triple Overlords ticking down. Opponent's got a Savannah, plenty of mana. I have plenty of removal if they just tap out for some big dumb 5-drop. I'm not really doing a great job of pressuring my opponent here. These are down to 1 and 2 respectively. Phelia is a cool card. Send them. Opponent's at 11. I think I am good passing the turn there, intending on casting these 2 spells. 3 Overlords tick down. Yikes. Incredibly efficient. Yep. Tropical Island. Let's just sacrifice a creature. Yeah, that's fine then. I can sacrifice the Orc Army token. That's Yorion to hand. These tick down. We will attempt to swords this one immediately. It works. And then I will Phelia. It does not work. Pitching a Zur. Just whiffed on sources of card advantage here, unfortunately. I think my opponent's Yorion ends up doing a very serious amount of work. The swords too. Does it enter or attack? Yeah. So they're going to blink out their value permanents. Then Yorion triggers. You put the momentum breaker trigger on bottom, which they did. Go ahead and let that resolve. Or discard a card? Neat. I don't want this Chrome box anyway. That's fine. Fetch. Speed trigger things. Rubland. Solitude on the Overlord. Ketramose? 6 cards in exile? Am I willing to leave Yorion there and risk something like Karakas happening? I think I am. I think I have to respect getting my own value engine online. It means I am not attacking 4-3 this turn with Solitude. Abundant Growth. Alright, not Karakas. It is a big awful card though. Starting a Brainstorm. I will take some damage in the air. And opponent has max speed. Wait, no, not max speed yet. Speed 3. Not that that super matters in this deck. I'm going to attempt to cast this now. This will be the 7th card in exile, assuming this resolves. And it's not Force of Will blue card. It's not. Take out the Overlord. Ketramose trigger. Dauthi Voidwalker, which I can't cast immediately, but I do get to hit for 7 here. Alright, 17 to 20. I now get my Overlord. And Marsh Flats is not a surveil land. Can it consign to memory me? No, alright, you're surveilling. That's fine. Overlord's a dude. Opponent's got some card selection. Luckily, they don't have anything like Up the Beanstalk already set up. Is another Momentum Breaker. I'll sack one of the Solitudes. Sword's not on Ketramose, but Overlord. An Estrid's Invocation. Or another Momentum Breaker. That'll take out my Solitude. I don't want to lose life on my opponent's turn, I guess, to give them the speed. I guess I can fetch in my upkeep. Oh, I have the ever so slightly lesser chance of drawing a land. There's a Helm of Obedience. Estrid's Invocation Momentum Breaker is a little awkward. This says Menace. I still do get to just attack in. This is very awkward. I can Helm and activate targeting my opponent. I can play Dauthi and Helm and not activate. I'm always my opponent either draws a card or makes me sacrifice a creature, probably sacrifice a creature. I think I'm going to throw both into play on the off chance that I end up getting Hellbent I lose multiple creatures and then would have to discard a card to one of these entering play. All right, Estrid's Invocation. And now, do I keep the thing that maybe kills my opponent or do I keep my value engine? I think I keep my value engine. A Helm for X equals 6 against my opponent's deck with a bunch of dirtily 5-drops seems fine. All right, I'm going to take 4. My opponent is at max speed. I've got a Solitude. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I think I'm good with just casting that. Exile Yorion. I'll draw a card off of Ketramose. It is a Leyline. Cool. So Helm is potentially lethal next turn. Opponent's at 12. This Estrid's Invocation thing just gets to continue to do bullshit. It's pretty cool, though. Junk Solitude. That's cruel. That's fucking cruel. Alright. Helm target you. X equals 1. Milled Leyline Binding. Alright. There's a Dauthi. There's a Leyline. And in for 4. Do things have void counters from earlier? No. Force of Vigor. Honestly, that's not doing the most. But this momentum breaker thing is really annoying. I could keep Dauthi and try to Force of Vigor, Estrid's Invocation, and one other card. I think it is better to just keep Ketramose. That is a new Ketramose. And in for 4. And I missed something off of Ketramose here. So I am going to lose my only creature to Momentum Breaker now. So hopefully I just draw another creature to play alongside Ketramose and just present lethal next turn. Beanstalk is bad. No immediate other play, though. Alright, yeah, great. That's exactly what I wanted. So we will Ketramose. Alright, that's Force of Will. Playing Dauthi Voidwalker and not playing Dauthi Voidwalker have the same effect if my opponent blinks Momentum Breaker. I think I am now in a miserable game where I lose after a while. But I have some very powerful cards like Overlord of the Balemurk that I can draw that can potentially get me out of this. Bowmaster's not the worst. Alright, so Momentum Breaker trigger. Opponent keeps it as Momentum Breaker. I will cast a Bowmaster in response. I will ping my opponent, and then hopefully just sacrifice this token. Yeah. Opponent's passing the turn. Another Bowmaster. I think I am attacking in since every point of life matters so much. Opponent's at 2. Upkeep. Estrid's Invocation / Momentum Breaker trigger once again. And I will cast a Bowmaster in response. A Force of Will would draw a card and trigger the other Bowmaster that's in play. Alright, so opponent is going to sacrifice a Momentum Breaker to gain some life. Bowmaster now resolves. I'll ping my opponent and sacrifice the token to the trigger. Land is not a spell that interacts with me, so that's good. Let's just keep drawing hot. I need to not hit lands. Thank you, deck. Send it on in. Opponent goes to 3. I'm going to lose a Bowmaster here. I'll hold the land. Alright, so I lose a Bowmaster to this trigger. God damn it. It's another Estrid's Invocation. So now my opponent selects Momentum Breaker this turn, and then next turn they can select double up the Beanstalk. This one's over. Stony Silence is in play. I'm going to play this out on the off chance that at some point Stony Silence is not in play because of something like a Phelia. Force of Negation. Sure. I'm not even sure if that is worth countering there. And then there's double up the Beanstalk. So my opponent has a free draw 2 every turn for the rest of the game, or free edicts. I think I am going to fast forward to relevant plays from here on out. Third Estrid's Invocation. And that's an Overlord that is drawing 4. Opponent can triple Estrid's Invocation, the Overlord, and just kill me even from 35. Never mind. We'll try to remove that. Opponent has played a Phelia and an Overlord of the Flood Pits. They would have milled out at this point if they were a regular-sized deck. Alright, so I have a blocker. My opponent should probably just Momentum Breaker with the first one of these and see what I do. Nope, they are going for the kill. If they've got Force of Will, it doesn't really matter, which I presume that they do. Alright, there's the Momentum Breaker. I will do this. Alright, it doesn't matter. I'll cast it in case they accidentally Force of Will and draw some extra cards. Doesn't matter. Phelia can, like, blink the Momentum Breaker even if I slip something through. That is a Zur Eternal Schemer, which I imagine finishes off this game, either this turn or next turn. The opponent's going to attack with a bunch of lifelinking enchantment creatures. I'll end up taking a bunch of damage. My opponent didn't even blink anything with Phelia. I think I basically need to draw an Overlord and hit a good follow-up play to have any chance at surviving another turn. It is a land instead. Opponent plays a Leyline Binding, I think just so they can attack with 6 points of damage with it. Alright, so I imagine this is lethal. I didn't count it. Yes. The opponent gets their match win with 30 seconds on the clock and 4 cards remaining in their Yorion library. Turn 21. GG's. Alright, previous game was a slog. Got a Leyline opener. We've got Phelia plus Overlord. Losing the Phelia would be a pretty big deal here. I'm going to put that into graveyard. I can get that back with an Overlord trigger at some point in the next few turns. Get rid of this. Stop. Cavern of Souls. On human. Good, honest magic. Red? Red Lotus Petal? Magus of the Moon. Slightly less honest magic. But lol. 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 Yep. I'm good with what has happened here. I'll pick up a Solitude. So now I can answer that Magus of the Moon at my convenience, and I might not even answer it, honestly. I might just leave it in play, so if my opponent has soul lands, those don't work. That's a mountain. I'm definitely willing to at least take the combat damage here. The opponent does not make a play. I am good with Thoughtseize here. Let's get a better feel for what my opponent is doing. Okay, so like they are a red-white initiative type deck. Got it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take one of the broadsides here and win this game with Helm. I'll play this land drop immediately. Overlord ticks down. I will take 2 from a Magus. Go to 14. Good with everything that has happened here. Okay, I hit a land, so now I can potentially pitch Witch Enchanter to Solitude. So there's my Helm. We've got Leyline Helm. I can Solitude a broadside if my opponent does that. Nope. I'll take 2. 12. Helm. Target you. Oh, you're going to show me your entire deck? I appreciate that. Yeah, concede before that resolves, just for viewers at home. Don't do that. We got some spice. There's a couple copies of Lightning Army of 1. So burst damage can be real. There's red-white initiative. There are a full playset of Magus of the Moons. Okay, got it. So I want Solitudes. My opponent doesn't have the 1 ring, so Disruptor Flute gets a lot less good. Thoughtseize is maybe mid. Wrath of the Skies is very slow at answering things. I think I'm going to do this for 2 Solitudes, and then respect the hell out of Broadside's activated ability. I'm very happy to win game 1 here, because it means that I won't necessarily just get got by something like a turn 1 Archon. My hand is medium. I am soft to a Magus of the Moon with this hand. I have Overlord to look for Solitude and dig 5 deep otherwise. I think I am not happy with it, but okay with it. I think I lose to some of the higher caliber hands my opponent is capable of, but we get the early concession there. My opponent had already mulliganed to 5, and, you know, tossed in the towel. Nothing wrong with that. GG's. All right, so overall thoughts on the deck list. What do we think about Tyler's brew here? Honestly, not bad, Tyler. I'm very happy with some of the changes I made to the build that you originally submitted. I think I was correct that the colorless lands were not all that great. I did not mind having access to a couple of wastelands in the deck, but very much from the perspective of a control deck that maybe needs to answer, you know, the Tabernacles and Urza's Sagas and Dark Depths of the world, rather than, like, I'm going to beat you down with creatures and wasteland you while I am doing so. The deck definitely needs to get to 3 and 4 mana, and sometimes 5 mana to do its thing. I am very glad I added in Overlords and Solitudes that weren't in the original build. I did not mind having access to the Fair Bowmasters in the sideboard. If you want to do something like this, I think you need to have some number of fair cards in the sideboard that you can board in when some number of these cards aren't particularly good. Like, there's going to be time when Swords or Thoughtseize or Leyline or Helm aren't going to be good. And having some fair or fair adjacent cards that you can just use to plug slots is perfectly fine. We put up a positive finish in the league, and honestly played 5 pretty respectable rounds of Magic. The Estrid's Invocation pile was able to go above us in terms of raw card advantage. It just outvalued the Overlords and the Ketramose. It was even slower than our already slow deck. So that loss was not unexpected. Mindbreak Trap was not used today. Deafening Silence was not used. But we played largely fair matches, so your mileage may vary in a league that you play with this. But this was a lot of fun, and I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any thoughts about things that we could add into this, throw those down in the comments below. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!